Okay, we're going to talk about the enumerate function in Python, which lets you iterate over a collection while having access to both the index and the value during iteration. And a perfect use case for this is when evaluating polynomials in code. And so in programming, typically what you're going to see is polynomials represented in a form called coefficient representation. And this just means a polynomial is represented by simply just a list of its coefficients. And this is kind of the most compact and logical way to store the pertinent information about a polynomial. And so we can see here, this is saying the ith coefficient corresponds to the ith power of x. And we can see that here. So we have c sub 0. So that's representing, the first element in this list of coefficients. And that's multiplying x to the 0th power. C sub 1, x to the first power, C sub 2, x to the second power, and so on and so forth. And then we can see here a specific example. So we have a list of coefficients here, and 3 is the first coefficient, and so its index is 0, and so we're taking 3 times x to the 0th power. And then negative 6 is index 1, so we're taking negative 6 times x to the first power, and so on and so forth. So again, this is a nice memory efficient, compact way to represent polynomials, because polynomials are uniquely defined by their coefficients. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually implement this. So we're going to define polynomial function. It's going to take a list of coefficients and an x value that we're going to actually evaluate the polynomial at. Since we're evaluating the polynomial, it's going to be an accumulator. So we'll initialize a result to 0. And then this is how you actually use the enumerate function. So we see here, we're using the enumerate function. We're passing the list of coefficients to this enumerate function. And then we're unpacking. Remember, this is unpacking, or tuple unpacking, the index and the coefficient from this enumeration. So this is, it's always in the same order. Index always comes first, and then the value from your iterable sequence or iterable collection is the second value in this tuple that enumerate produces. And I just gave it coefficient here, or coef, just for naming sake, but in general, you're going to see index val is essentially what you're dealing with. Okay, so it's an accumulator, so we're going to increment result by the coefficient times x raised to the power of the index. Right, we can see that exactly here, and here sort of in a more general format. And that's exactly what's happening here. So on the first iteration, enumerate, we're going to have index is 0, and then coefficient is whatever the first coefficient is in the list. And so we're taking that coefficient and then multiplying it by the value of x raised to the index power. And then all we have to do is return the result. And let's go ahead and say, let's do this example here. So 3, negative 6, 0, and 2. And we're going to print the polynomial at the x value, x equals 1, say. And we can see that it evaluates to negative 1, and you could do the math there. Let's do something easier. Let's try x equals 0. Oops. I deleted a parentheses. There we go. And so we have a result of 3. And this is easy to check because we have this polynomial right here, 3 minus 6x plus 2x to the third power. If we plug in 0 for x, both of those terms go away and we're just left with 3. And so we can see that that is working as expected.